Right, so what we're doing is we're continuing on with the nitrogen and carbon cycle worksheets. Right, so they've got a description of a stage. Heat from the sun causes liquid water to change into water vapor. That is called evaporation. So this is like the water cycle that we're looking at. This thing here, water cycle. So I think this is how it runs. You've got, let's say, a lake or the sea. As the sun beams down, water will start evaporating. It goes from a liquid to a gas, and then it floats up into the atmosphere. Right, when it gets there, the vapor turns into, the gas turns into little droplets of liquid. So it condenses, and you get condensation. So you got condensation. So those are your clouds. And then when it gets too big, it starts falling down back to Earth as rain, as just say snow. And the technical name they call it is precipitation. On this last word, transpiration, I think we've done it before. So there's a plant, there's the roots. So water gets absorbed in through the roots, travels up the stem and out of the leaves. And this movement of water is called a transpiration stream. And transpiration here is the loss of water through the leaves. So we said that this here is condensation. That's this process here, right? When liquid falls back to the earth, we'll just call it rain. Remember we said you can also call it precipitation. Right, transpiration we said was the loss of water when a leaf loses water, yeah? Loss of water from leaves. That's probably the easiest one to learn. Right, describe the biological consequences of pollution. Right, that's gonna be a separate thing. That's quite involved. That we'll try to stick to this. Right, so you've got the nitrogen cycle here. Right, and we need to name the processes A, B, C, and D. Right, where are we? Let's look at A, B, C, and D. And there are 2 two A's. So what's happening is there's bacteria. There's bacteria in the soil that are trying to break things down and make sure that the nitrogen and the nutrients can get absorbed back into the soil. And then that process, so they're asking for the processes. No, the processes, not the names of the bacteria. And this is called nitrogen. This process, the first stage is called nitrogen fixing. Right, and just for our sake, there's two sets of organisms that break stuff down, bacteria and fungi. They're decomposers. These are known as decomposers. And the ones that we're interested in is the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Right, so we can call that process nitrogen fixing. So that process is nitrogen fixing or nitrogen fixation. Right. This bit here will go to B. That there turns, they call it detritus. Oh, no, don't tell me you're playing up again. Yep, no problem. We'll have to live with that. Right. Dead matter or dead plant matter or dead organic matter, they call it detritus. I think that's how you pronounce it. What happens is bacteria and fungi or decomposers break it down into ammonium ions. Ammonium ions, not ammonia. I sometimes end up writing ammonia. It's ammonium. Right, and this process is called decomposition. Decomposition. You'll also see this, you know, when things decay. Oh, decay. When they decay, when they just get rotten, that's what we call decay. And this is what's happening, it's producing ammonium ions. Okay, so now this here is nitrifying. Yeah, that's decay, and part C will be nitrifying. What happens is there's bacteria that take the ammonium ions and turn them into nitrate ions. Well, it really goes ammonium, nitrite, nitrate by this nitrogen fixing bacteria. But we're interested in the process. So this is called nitrification. Nitrification. So the first stage is called nitrogen fixing, and then that turns it into ammonia. The next stage is nitrification at C. And then finally, when you get D, there's bacteria. Let's see what happens with that. Right. Finally, with this process here, this bacteria, well, they call it, some people call it bad bacteria, but it's got a purpose. They turn the nitrates back into nitrogen oxide in the atmosphere and in the soil. So this is called, it's the opposite of this here, denitrification. Denitrification. So they do the first stage, they nitrify it. The decomposers, so they take nitrogen in the soil and get it ready. Decomposers break down any dead plants and animal matter. It could be urine, feces, manure, and they break it down into ammonium ions, and then the other bacteria take over. So this is nitrogen fixing, this is denitrifying, this is denitrifying, this is nitrogen fixing. And you've got a process here where they put where bacteria that live in here, can you see these little blobs? They live in nodules there, which turn nitrogen gas straight into amino acids for the plant. And in return, the plant gives them carbs to live off, carbohydrates, carbohydrates. Okay, let's move on. Right, name two different organisms. Right, so we've already mentioned that. It's bacteria that break it down, bacteria, and fungi or fungus. Right, the nitrogen in nitrate ion in the soil can become protein in an animal. So right, there's a process that it. So what happens here is the plant roots or root hair cells absorb the nitrate ion. This is then iron by a process. Right, it's a process called active transport, which requires respiration, because respiration produces energy, which requires, we're just putting all the keywords in, and we just put energy. So look, that's covered everything there. Right, the next thing is the plant turns it into amino acid, and it becomes part of a cell. So for example, the nucleus is made up of amino acids which clump together to form protein, which then clump together to form the nucleus. Right, then the part of the cell, it is now, right, okay, it is now assimilated. So this is a keyword, assimilated, because it's now become part of the plant, not in the plant. So for example, when I eat something, it's in my stomach, it's not part of me. When it gets digested, absorbed into the blood, and then turned into part of a cell, then as it has become assimilated. So if you can put all these keywords in, it'll be good. Right. Then the animal eats the plant and digests it using what? using an enzyme. Using which enzyme? Just stick to the group. It's protease enzyme. Which is then assimilated by the animal or into the animal. No. Animal. Right here. Let's just quickly go through that. Carbohydrate, protein, and lipids. Carbohydrates, you need, right, the enzymes that we know are amylase and maltase. Amylase breaks down starch into maltose. Maltase breaks down, oh, I can't spell starch. And this breaks down maltose into glucose, right? But the group of enzymes are called carbohydrases, right? Or carbohydrates. Protein, the ones that we know are trypsin, which turns proteins into peptides, or pepsin. Pepsin. Right. The group is called proteases. Right. Lipids, the only one I've come across in the book is lipase or lipases, and that turns, okay, so that turns protein into peptides or amino acids. Okay, so lipase turns lipids into fatty acids and glycerol into glycerol. Right, okay, let's move on. We'll get this question done and then we'll do another video. Right, farmers sometimes add fertilizer to help their crops grow. What are the two advantages of using animal waste? So for example, manure. That's cow or horse poo. Rather than a chemical fertilizer. Right, first of all, the one that I know straight away, it helps the structure of the soil. It stops it getting washed away and helps maintain the water. It stops too much water evaporation. It's like mulch. Right, it lasts long as well. What else can we say? Cheaper. Okay, it is cheaper because it's all available if you've got animals. Cheaper than chemicals. And because it doesn't wash away, because of that, and this is the key word now we're going to write, it reduces something called eutrophication. Eutrophication. It reduces eutrophication, which is basically where chemicals or nutrients run off into waterways, whether it's lakes or rivers or whatever it is. Yeah, right, so that's the key word. Let's right, it helps the structure of the soil, so it stops it eroding, and it helps maintain the water. It's cheaper for the farmers, and it helps reduce eutrophication. Right, okay, we'll call it quits there.